And so in a way, if you want, I think if you want to engage with folks, technology, internet, and all that, all the tools that we have, I think can enable us to do that. Can enable us, but sometimes, and maybe you can help me with this as well. I think there's just a lack of being aware of what's out there and how, even though initially it might be a little bit challenging, once you get over the hurdle of X, Y, and Z in terms of getting that technology to work, the whole world opens up to you, right? And I think a lot of older folks, just because there is this sort of stigma or there is this irrational fear, I don't think you're representative at all of the whole population, to be honest with you, in the sense that you are bold and you go and you do and you figure things out and so forth. But a lot of folks, and I don't want to have this blanket, but I've seen a lot of folks are afraid to touch technology because they might break something, right? And so I think
that's true.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think it's true, and a lot of organizations, from like libraries, there's an AARP organization, there's things called Senior Planet. There are a lot of organizations to help older people master technology, and I think that's a really smart initiative, because you're right, it can be misused, it can be too passive, but it also can allow you to feel connected to the world in a way that you wouldn't otherwise. And if you visit like assisted living communities, let's say, and like about 1 million people live in these communities, and almost by definition, they're kind of upscale because they're expensive and nobody pays for it except you. So I often have seen that people are, living in these communities have computers and they use them a lot. So they're in a community, and so they see people at meals, they see people in discussion groups, their families come and visit them. They don't have to be isolated, but it's not so easy for them to get out and about, but the computer makes it, and they don't have to be doing fancy things on computers. Like, I don't do fancy things on computers. I'm not designing things. I'm not going near AI, but I am, on Facebook, on Twitter. In fact, I use Facebook and Twitter, and I tell my students this too. It's a way to enable your reporting as journalists. And by the way, Ahmed, I think you missed your calling. And if you like talking to people about interesting stuff, you probably should have been a reporter. But, when I like to have the voices of actual people in my columns, not just experts. They're people who are regular people who are contending with this health problem, this technology thing. And how do I find them? Well, very often I put a request up on my Facebook author page and say, I'm looking to talk to people over 65 who have, and I tell them what it's about. And I don't have a huge following there. It's about 3,500 people, but people circulate it, and say, can you help out my friend? And it's a way to find people, especially older people, because Facebook is where they are. Like, they're not on TikTok. They're on lots of things, but Facebook is the one that skews oldest, which of course is why my students think it's completely useless, right? That, there are not a lot of 22-year-olds on Facebook, but I tell them, if you're looking to talk to older people, and also there's a Facebook group for basically everything. So if you want to write about a controversy in this neighborhood about this issue, I guarantee you there's a Facebook group about it, and they go online and say, oh, you're right.
No, it's a powerful tool. Facebook, those groups, LinkedIn, Twitter, those are the ones where I go to. I don't go to, I've never done TikTok or even Instagram. And I don't think I want to be there because I don't think they want us to be there, the kids. So we don't want to give them their space.
I'm not visual enough for Instagram, which is very photo oriented. So I go there. I think TikTok is really interesting. And of course, if you're on these other sites, you encounter their content, selectively. But it's also, these things can be a time drain. So I don't want to have to manage accounts on 14 different sites. I'm not an influencer in that way. So having, I'm on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook, I think, and I have a website. So people who want to find me can find me. And that's that's the way I use it. And everybody will make their individual decisions. But there are a lot of older people using the internet, even though it doesn't necessarily feel like home to them. They didn't grow up with it, but now it's there and they use it in a whole variety of ways. And I don't think overall it's been a bad development for us.
No, no, I think YouTube, for example, where you can find, almost anything you want, right?
Oh, that's true. I should have said older people use YouTube a lot.
YouTube,
They they do
yeah,
use it.
I've visited some of these senior living communities as part of my work, and you are absolutely right. It enables them. One of them said to me, "This is my car." She was pointing to her laptop, right? This is my car. This is where I can go and just sit and go to places. I said, "What kind of places?" She said, "I go to YouTube. I go to," and she was rattling off all kinds of social media platforms. She goes, and this lady was, I think, 85 or 86, right? So she was not afraid and she was proud of her big laptop. It was actually a massive one. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I have an enormous monitor because
Yeah.
one thing that happens, is your eyesight can deteriorate and your hearing can deteriorate. So, but the ability to use a larger font, like when I have a book, if I'm going to, I can, I have all kinds of glasses, but like if you can't read the fine print on your medication, which is a big problem. Hello,
Yeah.
pharma.
Wow.
Like who's taking these drugs? Older people. Don't make it white print on a yellow background in a tiny font, or we can't read it. And we can't do anything to enlarge it unless you want to use a magnifying glass. But online, you can enlarge the font, you can make things louder.
Right.
So it's actually customizable in a way that the real world isn't always.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you this. You mentioned that, hey, I'm not gonna get close to AI. Tell me why. What's the
Oh, I know I'm going to have to do this eventually. I'm just kind of waiting for it to shake out. We're in that phase now where, you have these two camps and people are saying, this is the future, it can do everything. And, this is going to be the end of human civilization. And the reality is always in the middle somewhere. I'm a writer. I don't need AI to tell me how to compose a letter. Uh, I don't trust it to do research because it gets things wrong. And so if I have to fact check every single thing it tells me, then what's the point? I can do the fact checking myself. So at this point, I'm just kind of staying away from it and waiting to see how it settles out. But I can see that, I know older people that are using, Chat GPT and other AI bots, and they find it useful. So, okay.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's all about, using it, in my opinion, deliberately, right? And I use it, but I'm very selective. I use it mainly to stimulate, like I want to see different points as opposed to facts. I don't trust it in terms of fact, right? But let's say I have a position and I want to say, well, give me the counter position, right? And I can assess whether that counter position makes sense or not. So I use it as a sounding board, rather than say write this for me or give me facts. For those, I go to Google and look for actual articles published by and see that I can source it and so forth. But as a sounding board, it's been useful. But again, one has to be careful because it's very easy to get sucked into tech as opposed to as we do the due diligence to ensure that what you're saying is coherent and cogent and factual. Um, so let me ask you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, because it seems that language, right? Language obviously is very important. Like it's the way we communicate with each other, and there's a lot of meaning in everything that we say, and that's why Sweetie and so forth um, has such a reaction to it because it means things beyond what perhaps even the person who said them. So I wanna focus on one word where the post, so we posted about this word and it got a lot of reaction as well. It was simply one of my colleagues said, what do you think that it's time for us to get rid of the word dementia? And the reaction was immense in terms of people saying the word is overloaded, it is scary. If somebody says, well, I have my mom suffer from dementia, all of a sudden it means, okay, it's the end, it's less than a person, it's somebody, it's a creature, so to speak, right? Anyway, the reaction was, again, it was, we post every single day, and once in a while we get this flare, right? And then we ask ourselves, well, how come? Like your articles, this one here, what's your thought about that? The word dementia, is it time to retire it? Is it more useful or less useful than it should be?
So one of the virtues of being older is remembering that we have been here before. And one place we have been here before is with cancer.
Yeah.
Cancer was once one of those loaded, scary, awful words. And you might even remember John Wayne, right? The persona of the macho American male, John Wayne saying, I beat the big C. He didn't say cancer, I beat the big C. And for, at one point, doctors did not even tell their patients, how paternalistic is this, did not even tell their patients that they had cancer. So I see this as analogous. Dementia is scary. And it doesn't get less scary if you call it something else or you pretend it's not happening. So I haven't encountered this, this argument before. And of course, dementia is a big umbrella term for a lot of individual different diseases.
Yeah.
So 70% of it is Alzheimer's disease, another scary word. So if you don't want to say dementia, do you want to say Alzheimer's instead?
Well, I mean, just to engage, the reactions were exactly that. They said, I'd rather somebody use exactly the disease, Alzheimer's, even though it's scary, as opposed to dementia, which is just ball of wax, of badness, of, let's throw it away out the window, as opposed to, anyway, these are the reactions from the folks. Yeah, go ahead.
What about the 30% of times where it's not Alzheimer's disease, where it's Lewy body dementia or it's vascular dementia? I mean, and often these overlap and people have more than one, or it's not clear which. Yeah. So if you would rather say my mother has Alzheimer's disease than my mother has dementia, okay. But that won't work for everybody because we don't always know what's causing the dementia. Or you have more than one. So do you want to say my mother has Alzheimer's disease and vascular dementia? Okay. But I think we're, being fearful of these words does not advance us. And if you'll permit me, I'm at a little rant here.
Go for it.
So I say old people. I say I'm old. Like old is actually one of those charged words. That's why the official style in the New York Times, in KFF Health News, in medical journals, at the AARP, the official nice terminology is older adults. We don't say old people, say older adults. And we don't even, and so, no, and my feeling is that this is a euphemism, it's evasive. We don't say younger adults, we just say young people. We don't say middle-aged-er. Like the only place where we use this qualifier is old. And my feeling is that no matter what terminology you use to describe the population that's over 60, 65, 70, no matter what word you use, someone's going to object to it. If I say seniors, somebody says in the comments, I used to be a senior, but then I graduated. If you say elderly, they hate it. If you say old people, they hate that too. I like elders because it sounds wise, but then people say it sounds like you're a leader of a church organization. And my feeling is it doesn't even really matter what term you use because what people are objecting to is not the nomenclature. It's the status of being old. Nobody wants to be old. We want to be eternally young. We want cosmetics that make us look younger. We want plastic surgery that makes us look younger. And I would like to say, can we just own this? There is precedent for this. When we were growing up, to call an African-American person Black was a slur. And then Black people themselves reclaimed this and said, no, we can say this with pride. Black is beautiful. And the same thing with people who are gay, lesbian, trans, bisexual, to call that person queer was a slur 20 or 30 years ago. And now it's embraced with pride. So I wish this never going to happen in my lifetime, but I wish we could just say, we're old. It's okay. Young is not a compliment. Old is not an insult. Take it with pride. We've earned these wrinkles. I'm not going to be embarrassed about it. I don't want to be euphemistic, because no euphemism is euphemistic enough to make people feel okay with being old. The only thing that's going to change this is people saying, I'm old and it's okay. What else is true about me? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a writer. I'm an actor. I run 5 miles a day. I have disabilities, but I am able to be a political activist by making phone calls and sending postcards. Like, what else is true about you besides your age? Let's just
Yeah.
own it and move on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that.
End of rant. Thank you.
No, that was a it was not a rant actually. It was a really insightful. I mean, if you think, it's interesting, right? If I think of Mick Jagger, who is in his 70s, right?
No, he is over 80.
He's over 80. Okay, well there you go. I still don't think of him as old, even though maybe because I grew up listening to his music and so forth. But he carries himself. I see a legend and a musician, Paul McCartney. All right, I don't see an old person. That's what I see, right? And so we should, like to your point, right? We should see people for the whole package, who they are, as opposed to this number.
Age is part of it, but it's only part of it.
You're part of it, yeah, yeah.
I'm particularly paying attention to who's in their 80s. Paul Simon's in their 80s, in his 80s. I'm particularly paying attention to this because I'm writing a book about octogenarians.
Well, let's talk about that. The ninth decade. I love that.
Yes, that's my working title, the ninth decade. It's for Portfolio Books, which is an imprint of Penguin Random House, and it's to look at what happens when we pass 80, because it is one of the fastest, I think it is the fastest growing population group in the United States. And it's kind of uncharted territory because one reason there are so many people over 80s is just because of the baby boom, which was so large. But the other, of course, is expanded lifespans. And most people did not expect to live into their 80s when we were born. And now many of us will. So the average lifespan for a person who turns 65 in the United States today is 17 years for men and 20 years for women. And that's the average. That's everyone. People who smoke, people who drink too much, people who are physically inactive. So there is a sizable group of people who will live into their 80s and need to kind of rethink what that means. How do we think differently about healthcare decisions when we're in our 80s? How do we hold on to purpose when we're in our 80s? How do we find rituals when, that mark milestones and transitions and give us a chance to celebrate our accomplishments and share our problems when we're in our 80s? And it almost seems like all the rituals are over. You have a retirement party, all the weddings are in the back, are behind you, all the graduations are behind you, even your grandchildren's weddings and graduations might be behind you. And we have to invent them, they don't exist. We have to do DIY rituals. So I've been thinking about this. I've been talking to researchers about this. I've been spending time with people in their 80s and writing about aspects of their lives. So it's something that I'm paying attention to. So that's how I know that Mick Jagger passed. He passed the milestone.
How old is Ringo Starr? He must be like 86, something like that. Ringo Starr.
I don't know exactly. I have to admit. I just know he's still out there. Okay. He's still out there doing it.
Still doing it. Yeah, absolutely. So when do you expect this book to come out?
Probably 2027.
2027. So you're right now just.
I'm supposed to turn it in March. It takes a year to get a book ready for publication. So I have to meet my deadlines. So I'm working on it. But I'm also teaching and I'm writing this column. So it goes slowly because I'm trying to do a few too many things. But I would rather be doing more things than not enough things. So
yeah. And I think one of the superpowers as we get older is that we are aware of time and we are more organized. It feels to me, at least as I get older, I get more sensitive about not wasting time and just being organized. I think that's
true. And and it shows up in Laura Carstensen is a researcher at Stanford University. Everybody who writes about age knows about Laura Carstensen because she and her colleagues pointed out that the assumption is that people in old age are depressed, because why wouldn't you be depressed? It's terrible to be old. But in fact, what she found is that there is this U-shaped curve, right?
Mm.
People are happiest of happiness. People are happiest early in their adulthood, in their teens and 20s, and then as their 30s, and then it goes down as you hit your 50s, which is sort of the bottom of the curve, because people have so many responsibilities.
Oh, yeah.
They're working, they're often raising children, they're like trying to be a neighbor, a family member. It can be kind of crushing. And then as you kind of come out the most intense part of that and go up, people's happiness actually increases after 50. And a lot of researchers looked at depression and anxiety during the pandemic, when heaven knows it was everywhere. And older people felt it too, but they had less anxiety and depression than younger people, because they had been through bad times before. They knew how to kind of stay steady and feel balanced and come out the other end. So I do think we're more conscious of time passing, and we're resilient. We can handle things.
We've been through many things. Yeah. So my last topic is how familiar are you with this radical longevity movement? There is a whole bunch of folks out there who are working on getting us to live a lot longer, like maybe double our span. These are people who are taking it seriously, mainly folks with money, the billionaires and so on, right? There's this whole movement.
It's the same people that want to go to Mars.
That's exactly right. And have you thought about it? Because you think about getting older and so forth. And do you think that let's say somehow through some whatever, right, gene therapy, whatever, we doubled our lifespan? What are implications, to the extent you have thought about it, beyond economics, right? Like our psychology, the way we look at ourselves and our lives. Have you thought about that at all? And if you have not, that's fine.
Now, I'm aware of it, but I haven't paid a lot of attention. I have never met an old person who really hoped that the lifespan would be 150 years. And the research shows people are not, in general, most people are not interested in longevity in itself. It's not the number of years, it's the quality of the years. So people do not want to, now the people who are working on this radical longevity idea are, they are assuming and working towards an expanded healthy lifespan. Right. But I just don't think this is a particularly pertinent to most people who are old now or who will be old soon, or to the people that are caring for them. It's, any more than building colonies on Mars. Human bodies have an expiration date. The warranty doesn't go forever. I don't think most people want to extend the expiration date. They want to have good lives and as good health as they can in the normal course of human lifespan. Of course, they have already expanded. Like we have these bonus years, a good 10 years, in some cases much longer.
Well, now they say people who are born in the early 21st century should expect to live 100 years because, I don't know about that. That's what they're saying.
Well, people are doing research on centenarians and their lives. So I think it will happen just with improved education, right, improved healthcare, and improved attention. But I don't think it's in itself a goal for most people. What I wish these billionaires would pay more attention to is the fact that we have not changed the social approach, the safety net, the governmental approach, the community approach to aging. Even now, we're still acting as if we're still on the farm, with in the log cabin with our families with 6 or 8 children. So there is really very little safety net for families who are taking care of older people, and most older people are not in any kind of institution. They're not in nursing homes. They're not in assisted living, and they don't have any kind of care.
Yeah.
Medicaid provides it, but there's a long waiting list for home care through Medicaid. And of course, Medicaid is under assault by the Trump administration. So we have this increasing number of old people. Some of them have physical disabilities. Some of them have cognitive disabilities. We are living longer. And who's supposed to be taking care of us? Well, we're acting as if families can still do this. Families are smaller. Women are in the workforce. They need to be in the workforce. I want us to be in the workforce. So who is supposed to be helping us take care of the old people that are here now, not the ones, in a few decades who might live to be 125? Can we deal with this pressing social issue that is upon us now? Could you put some of your billions towards helping us do that? Could you put some of your billions towards preventing your ally in the White House from stripping away some of the few programs that we already do have? This is a pressing social issue that reaches into almost every family, and we're just pretty much ignoring it and pretending that families can handle this when they can't. It's too much.
No, obviously they will not do that because there's no money in it for them, right? They try to make money out of it, right? And these are creatures who just look for money, more money, greed, bottomless greed. And so I totally agree with you, right? I think the whole political order needs to change to address these basic questions of dignity, whether you are a child who's going hungry or you're an old person who's just neglected because, you don't have the money. So, what else do you expect in such a system, a capitalist system that squeezes? And then, like you said, the middle class is squeezed, right? They don't have time or resources to take care. They want to take care of their families, but they are.
They do want to.
Yeah.
So let's create grants for families so that if you leave your job for a few years to take care of your mother with dementia or Alzheimer's or whatever you want to call it, can you not still get Social Security benefits for that period?
Yeah.
Can we not pay you something so that you're not...
Healthcare is the key thing, right? Can you have healthcare? I mean, if we took care of healthcare, so many things a lot of people would just quit their job to take care of their children because now they have healthcare, and one income perhaps might be. I mean, it just feels to me that there are some basic things, like you're saying, that could be addressed. But
right.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not real interested in, can we be 150? How about, could we be 80 and have and not feel like we're falling through the social safety net because there really isn't much of one?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Paula Span, the hour has gone very, very fast, and I have enjoyed my conversation with you tremendously. It's been fascinating. So I thank you so much for making the time, your precious time. You're writing a book, and yet you you took 1 hour. So that's I appreciate it very much, Paula.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ahmed. And I'll talk to you when the book comes out, right?
Well, before that, but between now and then, I'm gonna look forward to your articles, and to your amazing work that you do.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.